Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast, where every week I take a deep dive into my guests' musical influences and inspirations by asking them to make up an imaginary mixtape. They'll have 6 track choices and they'll have to pick from categories including their favourite cover version, a song they wish they could play to their 18-year-old selves, a song for a romantic interest, and a song they sing in the car or the shower. If you're enjoying these episodes, then please feel free to go to the top of the page, rate the podcast 5 stars, or give us a follow on social media at the Mixtape Podcast and Radio Show. And you can discover over 100 archive episodes just by visiting themixtapepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello and welcome to today's mixtape, and joining me today, it is Nicky from Melbourne Ska Orchestra. How are you, mate?
I'm great, brother, and you?
Very well, thank you, very well. This has been a really tricky interview to nail down, mate, because you've been all over the world. Every time I speak to the PR, oh, Nicky's here, blah, blah, blah. What have you been up to, mate? Where you been?
Oh, we just got back from touring in Canada with the orchestra. We started the world tour over there. And before that, I was in Malta doing some performances, and then got back, hit the ground running, putting the final touches to the live show. We're in the middle of rehearsal at the moment, and we so really excited about this new album, the sounds, and so yeah, it took all lots of things, and obviously all the PR for the tour. That's ended up doing interviews on the side of a road, hanging underneath a coconut tree half the time. So it's all good.
So the new album, The Ballad of Monte Loco. Tell us a little bit about that, mate. Out now, June the 28th, I think that came out, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's being the Melbourne Ska Orchestra, and ska has gone through many different kind of genres and waves, and we believe that our thing is international ska. It's trying new things with ska, mixing it with different genres and different grooves and everything. And so over the years, we've done stuff with cumbia and funk, and even bordering on like African and ethnic music. And what we have never done before was the whole, and we actually haven't seen good examples of it, is the whole spaghetti western thing. And there's so much imagery and soundscapes and emotion in those soundtracks. And it wasn't hard to put two and two together with the whole sort of ska thing and the rawness and the grit of the whole spaghetti western sound and feel. So we went for a deep dive into Ennio Morricone, especially with films like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and The Fistful of Dollars, and even with the aesthetic as well. It was a beautiful adventure and a university degree in having to learn about that style and sense of space and everything. An amazing journey. We smashed it out. We've got a beautiful team, and I'm really proud of the record. I think it's one of our best.
Absolutely, mate. I've been listening to it and loving it quite a bit this week. I also saw as well on your web store, melbourneskaorchestra.com, some lovely vinyl, limited edition yellow and black vinyl as well. Were you much of a vinyl collector yourself, Nicky?
Yeah, big time. I'm quite a romantic when it comes to the old school type label, where you'd cut a record and you'd, if you had a sound system, you'd do a couple of specials for the sound system, and then eventually it gets into the shops and radio and everything. And it was a real tactile thing where you could hold onto it and have a piece of the band. It was really important for us to maintain that, and obviously with streaming platforms, which is pitiful income, if anything at all, you couldn't even call it that. So at least vinyl, whereas hasn't obviously got the sales of yesteryear, is still it's an old school cottage industry. For me, it's a good feeling. And I've got my own little label called Transmitter, and our focus on that is vinyl.
Well, okay, awesome.
Though the mixtape is a good idea. The whole cassette vibe, that's good too.
Yeah. A lot of bands put stuff out on cassette now, mate. You'd be surprised, like on web stores and stuff. You see now, new stuff comes out, and a lot of bands are putting stuff out back on cassette now. It's a little bit like I've got a big cassette collection, and
a lot of my original writing was all I carried around a little portable cassette player, and I just had boxes and boxes of ideas. And there's still something tactile and romantic about all that type of stuff. That's great.
Absolutely. The show's called The Mixtape because I got given a mixtape when I was a teenager, started me off on my sort of musical journey. So yeah, that's the point I went on. And when you'll be, I think episode 117 maybe of the show, episode 100 was the guy who gave me that tape. He was the guest on episode 100.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that was really good.
So look what you started, son.
I know, no, it's unreal. Yeah, but that was a great episode. I really enjoyed doing that one. That was just like, it was a 2 hour, 40-minute Zoom, just two two old mates chatting about music. It was a real long one.
Well, yeah, it obviously changed your life, you know. That's it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was a pivotal moment in my life. Let's talk about tour dates then, mate. So you are touring Australia throughout August and September for Perth and Fremantle folks. One to look out for, 13th of September, Portbridge Brewery in Fremantle, Melbourne Ska Orchestra.com/shows for tickets for those ones. Has it been a while since you toured Australia, mate? When was the last time you did a lap?
We toured last year, and we tried kind of a lot of different places because it was pretty much post COVID. You know, everyone's really been wary about where and when and who have been affected across the board. Even with festivals, people don't buy tickets early anymore. And there's many festivals that have fallen down because of that.
Yeah.
So we tested our waters last year, but this year we've decided to go every capital city in Australia, all states, and it's looking great so far. Tickets are selling good and people are getting the idea. And there's a general thing that we try to say with bands and live musicians, just support live music by buying tickets early, because it's a really good indication of that our message is getting across. It's the last bastion. You can't AI a performance. You can't digitize that. And it's an ancient feeling, being in front of an audience and connecting and creating a vibe. We're encouraging people to support that world as much as they can. And our live performance, it's what we've been able to have a whole 22-year career on, is having a really great live show. So if you haven't seen the orchestra before, I highly recommend you come and check it out, because it's a spectacle.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was one of my next talking point was like, I think for bands like you, the live show is a real big part of what I know. It sounds a silly thing to say, all artists play live, but for bands like you, it is a real big part of what you do. It's a massive part.
I often talk about, there's lots of bands that can have one hit song and they can have a 15, 20-year career on that. That landscape for having that hit single, like with shows like Countdown and radio charts and something, that doesn't exist anymore. So when you release something these days, it just gets, for a start, it goes on streaming platforms, and so on a daily basis, there's millions of new releases. So you have to do something to rise above the water. So our calling card has always been live, and we take a lot of care in making sure that we do a great live show, and it pays dividends. We've been able to exist for so long because of our respect and our integrity based on the live show, because it is a beautiful experience when you have a whole heap of people in front of you there, and with the essence of joy and fun, and this is our 2 hours together. Let's enjoy this. Let's have a moment here. And I'm a big believer in focusing on that. I think it's great. There's some magic that happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, the live music experience is like nothing else. Like and it's just that sort of collective, like you, not just experiencing it like with the music, but in a group of people who are all experiencing it the same way that you are. Do you know what I mean? In that big collective sort of environment. I love that.
And that is one of the essential kind of beautiful things about humanity, is that when we get together and we join in a communal energy and do things together, it's scientific fact, your endorphins raise. You are doing something as a community. You're doing something. And I'm a massive believer in that. And I encourage that and constantly put fertilizer into that particular tree to make that grow. I think it's really the last truly human spiritual connections that exist in this world. The ability to make music, transmit that, have it received and transmitted back, and creating this beautiful energy loop that happens between a band and an audience. It's one of the main things that keeps me going when playing live, because I love the mystery of it's like meeting new friends. It's a great thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. Really looking forward to seeing you at the Portbridge Brewery, mate. Like I said, melbourneskaorchestra.com for tickets for that one. I've got a few sort of generic quick-fire questions, Nicky, that I give to all guests. I've got a list of about 10, so I'll pick out like 4 or 5 from it before we get into the mixtape track choices. Okay, what was the first album you ever bought?
It's called Steely Dan, Asia. There's a guy called Steve Gadd who did a drum solo on it, and at the time I was learning drums, and it was like the album to get.
Yeah, no, for sure. Not yesterday, the day before, I found by some miracle Gaucho in a Vinnie's in Kalamunda up near where I live. So I was paid like $2 for it. I was so stoked. I was like, oh, what a result. Yeah, fantastic. Love a bit of Steely Dan. Love a bit of Steely Dan. All right.
Yeah.
Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Wow. Someone has actually told me George Clooney.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout, mate. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, as far as people have certain partners and everything. Oh, yeah, it was the George Clooney. And thankfully, he's made grey hair cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I used to have dreads and black hair. That transition has its shortcomings, but if someone else is representing, it's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what is your favourite city to play live?
We just finished a tour of Canada, and I have to say Quebec. It's got a beautiful setting. The old town is just a walk away. It's got they really encourage music there. You can see that they celebrate music and celebrate musicians. So only because it's fresh, I'll just go Quebec City for the time being.
Okay, yeah, no problem, mate. What is the weirdest thing in your tour rider?
The weirdest thing in the tour rider would be, well, it's nothing weird, but I always request cranberry juice, and I'm the one that has it. No one else has it. That's my thing. So thankfully, no one else likes it, because you order wines and beers and that type of thing, and you come back on stage and it's been raided already. So cranberry juice is always mine.
Okay, mate. Okay, finally in the quick fire, what is the most rock star thing you've ever done?
I can't tell you. But yeah.
Yeah, there can be anyone
without getting in trouble. Just say, it was a situation where, without prompting, I was mobbed by a small collection of amazingly gorgeous women, and we had to dance. That's all I can say. Is that rock star enough?
Yeah, that's good enough, mate. That's perfect. That is perfect.
Don't touch that dial. Stay with us on the Mixtape.
The Mixtape is brought to you in association with Giglist. Giglist is your one-stop shop for all your live events. If you're looking to get out and experience some live music, you can filter by artist, venue, suburb or date. If you are an artist, it will take you less than a minute to list your gig for free on the website. The Mixtape brought to you in association with Giglist. Gigs in a list. Okay, Nicky, so for track one of your mixtape, what is a song you would put on a mixtape to kick it off in good style and as an attention-grabbing track, mate? What would you go with?
Go James Brown, Popcorn, because that was a pivotal song where he messed around with the beat. And for me, it was actually quite a pivotal time in R&B music, where he took a left turn and released it as a single, as gambled with it, and solidified his own genre. I'm a big fan of James Brown, because he was a drummer as well. So what he did with the rhythms, he turned, his influence on funk was as pivotal as the whole reggae groove. That it was kind of, it had that its own language.
I remember watching the movie about his life, which is quite good. And I remember a scene where he's in a rehearsal and he's talking to his band. I think he's talking to the drummer, and the drummer's, this isn't right. Like, music theory wise, this isn't right. And James Brown says to him, does it feel good? And he goes, yeah, but then it's right.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that is.
I feel good.
So, like, yeah, exactly that. Yeah. It wasn't that track, but yeah. It's like,
totally.
All right, track two, Nicky, for your mixtape. What is a song that you sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower?
It's funny because the next single of the orchestra is a song called Spring in My Step. And I've had that melody for so long, and I don't know what happens. And my partner does it too when she goes to the showers. For some reason, it's the chorus of that song. It's just got such it's perfect for the shower. The reverberation is good. So I know it's one of my own songs, but for the last year, because it's been sitting in my zeitgeist for ages, Spring in My Step, it's called. It's got like and my bathroom's got the right reverberation, and my voice sounds way better than it really is.
Yeah, no, son, I'm exactly the same. Not in your shower, in my shower, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used your shower. Next time you invite me to have a cup of tea if I'm 30, I'll try it out.
Okay. Track three, Nicky, what is your favourite cover version?
I don't blow my own trumpet, but the orchestra's version of Get Smart, I think we've done the justice. It's had about 13 or 14 million hits on YouTube. The film clip for it was amazing. We researched it and we nailed that section of the genre that always did, Scatterlights did Guns of Navarone and the Pink Panther and James Bond and everything. But Get Smart, Melbourne Ska Orchestra, I would happily, we do such a good version of it that I'm a fan of the song, even though it was helped to orchestrate it.
Fantastic.
I'm a real big fan of that song.
What makes a good cover version for you, Nicky?
Something that's taken the essence of the song and done something different with it. With like originally that was a 3/4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, and we made it a straight ska thing. So we've given it a new feel, put it in a genre that people wouldn't expect. So it celebrates the song to another level. That's the essence.
Perfect. Okay, track 4. What is a song that you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self?
I'd say Golden Brown by the Stranglers.
Yeah, that is a great one. I have had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Hugh Cornwell from the Stranglers for the show. Yeah, fantastic. He was a really good guest.
Wow. Great song. Captures, it's unlike the other stuff they do as well, too. It was a left of center channeling happened very quickly. And you could hear that the songwriter was simply the conduit for a transmission.
What sort of stuff were you listening to when you were 18, Nicky?
I was just starting to get into reggae. I just started hearing it. So it was before that floodgates opened up, and I realized that a lot of the two-tone stuff that I liked were cover versions of songs that were done in the 60s. And so I was just starting that vibe. I just started songwriting, and I was playing it in a cover band. At that time, my main thing making the transition was Stevie Wonder's 2 albums. One's called Talking Book, and the other one's called Inner Visions. And my brother and I, we bonded over that album and still do to this day. Stevie Wonder and just getting into reggae, yeah.
I always find it interesting to speak to people like yourself who are so well known for a particular genre, like where they started their musical journey. Do you know what I mean? Where they've come from.
I'm still on the learning curve with all this stuff too, which I love.
Same. Okay, track 5, Nicky. If you were making up a mixtape for a romantic interest, someone you wanted to let know you were clean, what would be a song that you would put on for that, mate?
We're going straight to Antonio Carlos Jobim and The Girl from Ipanema. I love a bossa nova, and it's a female's voice, that's quite beautiful. The saxophone in that song it says seduce me. And so, definitely The Girl from Ipanema, or anything bossa nova really, but certainly Stan Getz, Carlos Jobim,
Track 6 of your mixtape, Nicky, what is a track that you feel was underappreciated, like a deep cut or a B-side or an album track or something like that? What would you go with there, mate?
I would go with Lee Perry's song called Bangarang. It happened around the time when reggae, it was one of the first tunes that they say there was another song called Do the Reggae by Toots and the Maytals. But this particular track, Woman Don't Got Bangarang, it's such an amazing groove. Lee Perry is one of my all-time favorite producers. And this was this had Lester Sterling from the Scatterlights on saxophone, and it was sung by Stranger Cole, who I had in my studio in my house, and we toured with him with the orchestra. And I'm a big fan of, he was one of the pioneer singers of the early Jamaican scene. So that particular song was called Bangarang by Lee Perry, or the Upsetters. Stranger Cole and Lester Sterling were the artists, but produced by Lee Perry. And it's such a groove. For me, it's one of the cornerstone rhythms that propelled me into getting into the reggae scene first before ska.
Yeah, fantastic choice, mate. For regular listeners who would already know this, but for first-time listeners, I'll point it out again. If you visit the mixtapepodcast.com and click on Spotify playlists, you will find not only Nicky's mixtape in a Spotify playlist, you will also find every track 1, every track 2, every track 3 in 6 separate playlists. The track 6 playlist is so good because it is just like 100 and something like deep cuts like that, B-sides, underappreciated stuff. It's my favourite playlist to go to when I want someone to listen to. The mixtapepodcast.com if anyone's listening and you want to find those playlists. Nicky, just to round it out, mate, what are your sort of future plans once you get this tour out of the way of Australia and the album tour? What you got coming up at sort of back end of the year, mate?
So much. We're going to be doing remixes of this new album. Just at different takes, like dub versions as well. So as though we're doing dub plates. We're in the process of, with this particular album, what we did is that we did it backwards. We imagined there was a film called The Ballad of Monte Loco, and we were doing the soundtrack for that film. So now that the soundtrack's done, we're actually doing the film.
Excellent.
So we're actually filming a feature film at the moment. We've already shot
So good. Yeah.
so that's a big thing. I personally have a record label called Transmitter Records, and I've got 2 releases ready to go with that. And one's a dub album called the Freeburg Dubbers, and the other one's a funk thing called the Transmitter Funk Collective. And it's this group of musicians that we just make music for a genre that we like, with no other agenda as just to make good music. And that's going to be made into vinyl. So doing that, I'm always writing. Into the idea of what the next album is going to be. I'm trying to think right ahead of the curve all the time. So I'm exploring a lot of African rhythms at the moment.
Okay.
I think that may be the next thing, I think, because the more I delve into the history of music and rhythms and everything, it all goes back to Africa. It all really does. And everything from the Afro-Cuban to the reggae to the funk to the jazz. Yeah. So there's a well of information and seeds of music there to explore.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Nicky, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today, mate. As I always say to everyone, if you're listening on the podcast or the YouTube channel, there will be a link in the description down below, melbourneskaorchestra.com, for your vinyl bundles, your merch, and all your ticket links as well. And I'll throw a few links into your YouTube channel and your Transmitter Records website and all that other good stuff. Nicky, can't wait to see you in Freo, mate. Take care, buddy. Safe travels.
Pleasure. Good on you, man. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. See you later, buddy.
Yeah. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Mixtape podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to go to the top of the page and rate it 5 stars, or give us a like or follow on social media at the Mixtape podcast and radio show. Don't forget, there's over 100 archive episodes just waiting to be discovered. And all you need to do is visit themixtapepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.